EVELYN BRENT was a great star in Britain and America throughout the 1920s and made a successful transition to the talkies in one of the first all-talking pictures ever made in 1928. But by the early 1930s, she drifted into B-movies and became a character actress. What happened? Join me as I investigate. EVELYN BRENT was born in Tampa, Florida in 1895 as Mary Elizabeth Riggs, aka Betty. According to her biographers, Lynn Keir and James King, she told many different, often conflicting stories about her childhood and her parents over the years, including where they lived and when her parents passed away. Regardless, she was in New York and pretty much on her own by the time she was 18 and had to find a means to support herself. According to Keir and King, in 1914, EVELYN made it to the World Film Studios lot in Fort Lee, New Jersey, then the movie-making capital of America, and found work as an extra due to her striking beauty. Her first credited appearance was in 1914's A Gentleman from Mississippi, in which she supported star Tom Wise. During this time, EVELYN was credited by her real name, Betty Riggs. In 1915, Betty began working at Metro in Fort Lee, often supporting stage star turned film vamp Olga Petrova in her star vehicles. The first was The Heart of the Painted Woman in 1915. She then appeared with Petrova in 3 more films between 1915 and 1917 and credited Petrova as being her mentor. EVELYN's first appearance as EVELYN Brent was 1916's The Lure of Heart's Desire. In 1917, EVELYN appeared in her first surviving film, supporting John Barrymore in a small role in Raffles. What's interesting is that after 1917, EVELYN appears to have begun branching out from Metro, appearing in films at Fox and at Selznick. In 1919, she made an impression in 2 more surviving films. The first, The Glorious Lady, saw her as the vampy foil to the heroine played by Olive Thomas. This film was perhaps the first time she began playing these type of vamp bad girl roles that would come to define her career in a decade. The other film from 1919 was the short Border River, saw her in her first leading role as Marie, a woman that makes a brave rescue of the man that she loves when he is about to be executed. Border River was made by Edgar Jones Production Company, who named EVELYN their leading woman and took her to Augusta, Maine to film. According to Keir and King, EVELYN grew tired of how slowly her career was progressing in America and agreed to be a paid companion of a wealthy woman traveling to Europe in late 1919, a trip that eventually led her to London. Through a chance meeting, EVELYN met director John Cromwell, who cast her in one of the leading roles in his play on the West End, The Ruined Lady, which made her an almost overnight sensation of the London stage and became the big break that she was waiting for. Her stage success led to her starring in 10 British films over the next 2 years, including The Shuttle of Life, Sonia, which one critic said was the best acting seen on the British screen in a long time, and The Spanish Jade, which was seen by Douglas Fairbanks and Mary Pickford in America. After some bad luck in London, EVELYN returned to New York in late 1922, where she happened to meet Doug and Mary, who immediately signed her to their studio, United Artists, and whisked her away to Hollywood. In Hollywood, EVELYN found great publicity through her signing with Fairbanks and with her being named a Wampus Baby Star in 1923, alongside Eleanor Boardman and Laura LaPlante. However, according to Keir and King, when Fairbanks cast EVELYN in her first film with him, The Thief of Baghdad, she thought she was totally wrong for the part of the dainty, demure princess and asked for a release from her contract. She and Fairbanks ended their business relationship amicably, and EVELYN set out to find other work in Hollywood. For the next 3 years, EVELYN starred in 25-plus films in Hollywood at various studios. She eventually signed a contract with FBO due to the negotiations of her then-husband, B.P. Feynman. According to her biographers, EVELYN preferred playing character or villain roles over ingenue heroines. While she still starred in the films in which she appeared, she specialized in playing villainous-type roles so well that her biography is subtitled The Life and Films of Hollywood's Lady Crook. While she did not always play Lady Crooks, they evidently were her favorite types of roles. Interestingly enough, her only 3 surviving films from this period are such roles. One of them, Midnight Molly, even advertises EVELYN as a crook on the poster. However, The Arizona Express may be her best film from this time period, as she won raves and stole the film from its heroine Pauline Stark. In late 1926, EVELYN began her association with Paramount, where she would achieve her greatest career successes. First, against type, she played the leading heroine in Love 'Em and Leave 'Em, which saw her show off her considerable dramatic range as the older sister and protector of the flapper character played by rising star Louise Brooks. The role got her great reviews. In 1927 and 1928, Evelyn starred in the two most famous films of her career, both directed by Joseph von Sternberg, and which would come to define her even more as the best villainess of the silent screen. The first was Underworld, in which she played Feathers McCoy, a hardened gun moll that comes between two gangsters played by Clive Brook and George Bancroft. The second was The Last Command, in which she played Natalie, a dangerous woman on the side of the Bolsheviks in the Russian Revolution. Later in 1928, Evelyn starred in Paramount's first all-talking film, Interference, opposite William Powell, as a woman out to blackmail her former lover. It was a successful transition for Evelyn, whose performance and voice both got good reviews and led to her starring in several more talkies for Paramount and other studios over the next few years. At Universal, she starred in Broadway, released in 1929. An adaptation of the famous hit from the Broadway stage, Evelyn played a hardened dancer out for revenge and won rave reviews again. However, by 1930, Evelyn faced two career setbacks. First, she had divorced B.P. Feynman and married producer Harry Edwards, who begun to manage her career. Unfortunately, according to her biographers, he mismanaged it. She had starred in more talkies at Paramount going into the 30s, and despite them naming her one of the studio's top stars, she was often blackballed by reports of her being temperamental, which Evelyn stated in multiple interviews was false, a fact that was backed up by many of her co-stars, including William Powell and Jack Oakey. More accurately, her husband's mismanagement extended to him talking her into leaving Paramount and walking out on her contract, which probably angered studio executives who probably begun to spin out negative publicity. After filming a memorable part in Paramount on Parade in 1930, Evelyn left the studio for good and began to work at RKO, the successor to her old home FBO, and starred in two more memorable 1930 talkies. First, she was another lady gangster in Framed. Next, she gave a brilliant performance as the multifaceted Cherry in the Alaskan drama The Silver Horde, which is available to watch in its entirety on my YouTube channel. Despite her success at RKO, Evelyn's husband, Harry Edwards, mismanaged her career yet again by using a significant amount of her money to produce The Pagan Lady at Columbia. The film was unfortunately a critical and commercial flop, and according to Keir and King, lost the couple most of their money. To make matters worse, they were in a significant amount of debt and were being sued by collection agencies and the IRS. Evelyn was able to star opposite William Powell in 1932's High Pressure and H.B. Warner in The Crusader that same year, but needed a break from movies and feared that her husband's mismanagement would cost her any future film offers. She separated from him and went on the road for 2 years, touring in a vaudeville show with comedian Harry Fox, who would later become her third husband. The tour was not as financially successful as she had hoped, and she had to declare bankruptcy. Needing money, Evelyn returned to movies yet again in 1935, and over the next 15 years, she worked hard and appeared in 40 B-movies at various Poverty Row studios, with an occasional supporting B-movie role at a major studio. Beginning with leads, her roles eventually became character supporting ones as the years went on, but were always memorable and often garnered her good reviews. Highlights included 1935's Symphony of Living, 1936's It Could Have Happened, But It Did. It couldn't have happened, but it did. 1939's Panama Lady, in which she all but steals the movie from its leading lady, Lucille Ball. 1941's serial Holt of the Secret Service. 1943's spooky film The Seventh Victim, and 1948's the murder mystery Stage Struck. After co-starring in the independent religious drama, again Pioneers, in 1950, Evelyn took 10 years off from acting to live a quiet life with Harry Fox, eventually caring for him during his final years of illness. After his death in 1959, Evelyn returned to work one last time and appeared in an episode of the popular television western Wagon Train. Afterwards, she retired for good at the age of 65. She lived the last 15 years of her life quietly, sharing an apartment with her good friend Dorothy Conrad in Los Angeles, and often giving interviews to film historians once silent films became popular again in the 1970s. Evelyn passed away from emphysema and heart disease in 1975, a few months before her 80th birthday. So, we are left with the question, why did Evelyn Brent's stardom falter in the talkies? Well, thanks to her biography by Len Keir and James King, we have that information. Evelyn's career was mismanaged by her second husband, which resulted in a tarnished relationship with Paramount, which resulted in bad press, followed by financial bankruptcy. By the time Evelyn returned to work in the movies in the mid-30s, she was no longer the star she once was, but, as many stars I have discussed before, seemed to be happy just to keep working and acting. It suited her not to be a big star, as she was more of a quiet, humble person that enjoyed her privacy and cared more about creating serious characters than shining brightly in the limelight. I'd like to end on some quotes from Evelyn herself that Kieran King provided in her biography that shed some light on just what a great artist she truly was. In 1929, she told an interviewer the following: "I'm not comfortable being a star and was made one against my wishes. The star system is disastrous to the ordinary, everyday actress." Several years later, she told another interviewer, in hindsight, "However, I think I really enjoyed being a movie star. Not always in reality, but now in memory, yes, because I only remember the good times. That's why I stuck at it for so long." Also, according to Kieran King, multiple interviewers, authors, and historians that met Evelyn later in her life all defined her as a content, down-to-earth, humble woman not broken by the loss of fame and fortune, but content with the opportunities that she did have. To me, that quality is what truly made her a star. What a true artist, what a trooper. Be sure to check out Evelyn's biography by Len Keir and James King, and be sure to watch The Silver Horde on my YouTube channel. Please like this video and subscribe or follow this account if you want to learn more about the history of silent film stars whose stardom lasted only briefly in the talkies. Up next, join me as I cover the silent talkie career of Walter Byron. Thank you so much for joining me. Have a wonderful week.